Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm on a different side of the screen than I normally am. I am Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm your host of Rebel Roundup, and today I'm joined by my co-host, my friend, my ally in the fight for freedom, Tamara Ugolini. Tamara, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Sheila. How are you?
I feel like I've worked an entire week and it's only 11 a.m.
Just today. Yeah.
It's been a crazy day. We'll get into it, but I was up real early knowing full well I had a real packed pierogi of a day before I even made it to the live stream, which is only 11 a.m. my time. The debates commissioner was testifying today at the House of Commons at committee, watching him try to explain what exactly it is he does around here, which was such a great question from Andrew Lawton. And then it's also order paper question response day. So I think I'm like 13 into them right now. And I'm just frantically writing them up as quickly as I come in. And then we got big news out of Alberta later on today that I can't talk about because it's not quite fully announced. But yeah, it's a busy, crazy day. What a Thursday. It feels like a Monday of a Thursday.
Yep, a manic Thursday, so to speak. And we don't have any shortage of news, as Sheila mentioned, to share with you today. And bear with me because I have a little bit of a newer setup here. So
Looks
we've
great.
revamped some of our, thank you, thank you. It's been a work in progress for a few days. We've revamped some of the setups. So if you notice some of the background differences
Yeah.
with Sheila's setup, with my setup, we're trying to make things look a little bit more visually and aesthetically appealing. So thank you to everyone at home who continues to support our work and our efforts, and we can bring you these minor Black Friday deal setups, and it's always very much appreciated because I like to for everything to look nice and fresh for our viewers. So that being said, you can chip in if you want to help support our work and in some way our nicer setups in our studios by following along wherever we're streaming live. So Rumble and YouTube primarily, and you can give us what is called a Rumble rant, or on YouTube, you can give us a super chat, or in hindsight, if you join us after we're live, a super thanks. And it's a fun way for your comment. If you'd like to chip in $5 or more, we will read your comment on air. If you have a tip or just something to say, something to share with the broader audience, it's always fun for you guys at home to get involved. So please do. And also it helps fill any gaps, not that we usually have any, and we certainly won't today.
No.
So I don't want to gab your ears off because we're going to get right into what Sheila mentioned, which was the head of the debates commission testifying today about his. I love your tweet here, or your post, I should say, on X, that he testified about his inability, this is Michael Cormier, to
Yeah.
prevent workplace harassment directed
Yes.
at independent journalists by the mainstream media. I'm not sure, maybe Sheila, if we have time here, maybe right off the bat, we should just do a recap
Sure.
of what that looked like back in April. For anybody who might have missed our coverage of the federal leadership debates that happened, do we have a clip of the kind of the chaos that
Yeah.
was the press gallery
Yeah, it
at
was
that time?
crazy. Yeah, let's
You
let
were there.
Efron Olivia dig it up. I was in the room. Look, I'm no shrinking violet, okay? I can handle my own. I'm not someone who's easily triggered by insults or things like that. I was shocked because I couldn't believe that I was standing in a room of adults. It was like when you speak Latin to a demon and they just lost their marbles over and over again. They were yelling at Kean Bexty. They were yelling at Ezra Levant. And we're just minding our own business, trying to work. We're having a little chit chat and a visit. And every time we turned around, they were screaming at us. Like it was like, and I was
Literally.
shocked, literally screaming at us when we were in the lineup to ask questions because they are lazy and entitled. They didn't think they would have to work to get a question in. I'll give you the tip to our success. There were two X's on the floor. I looked and I said, okay, one is obviously the French lineup, one's the English lineup. We'll take half of our journalists, put them on that side, the other half of our journalists, put them on this side. And then if we end up in the wrong language lineup, we just switch, right? That was the secret to our success. But these other journalists were sitting all over the room. They didn't, you could very clearly see the debate was ending. So we sort of stood up and got in line. They were stunned because they've never had to work for anything in their lives before, and we don't get anything given to us. So they were crying the first night because we got all the questions in. Nobody stopped them from getting in line. And then the second night, they just exploded at us. They were screaming at us. And then so Michel Cormier, the debates commissioner, instead of dealing with the bad actors, ensuring a safe workplace free of harassment, which was what was happening to us, because that's a federally regulated workplace, not only by virtue of being the workplace of the Debates Commission, but also it was in the CBC building. So we've got 2 layers of you need to provide a respectful workplace for us. And the second they accredited us, it should have been that way. So that's why I filed a complaint for workplace harassment with the Debates Commission. Nothing ever came of it, but I thought I would just do it on behalf of our journalists, because I did not like how we were treated. So
yeah, and
if
you're wondering how we were treated, I was going to lead into
let's show it. Let's show it. And I want everybody to know the people who were screaming and yelling at us, nothing ever happened to them. Nothing. Instead of dealing with these absolute Yahoo lunatics, they canceled the scrum on the second night. Why? Because this big galoot wouldn't get his butt up off his chair and get in line. He was mad because we did. Anyways, let's listen to what we had to put up with.
What journalistic rationale is there to have this many people in the room? What journalistic rationale is there?
There's not muffin in front of them.
Yeah. There absolutely are 13 of you. There absolutely are. I saw Cian Bexty coming over to Ezra throughout the debate. Cian Bexty, who supposedly has a different media outlet, was taking direction from Ezra.
You're wrong. Cian Bexty doesn't work for Rebel News.
So why did he come over to you 3 times for direction during the debate? He showed you he showed you his phone, and he took direction from you during this debate.
goal.
So I don't think that Cian
Probably
Bexty
a
is
meme if I know
I don't
Cian.
believe that.
Cian, because we're friends.
We're not allowed to talk to people?
People here,
He's shaking.
which is much less than the CBC has. You've got to control your emotions. I know you don't like me or Rebel News, and that's okay. But
What I don't like, Ezra, is you preventing us from being able to ask questions on behalf of the
how
public.
have I done that?
You
Get
created
off
a
your
circus
big
here.
butt.
Before
What
this
circus?
debate started,
Questions that you don't
created
like?
a security
Questions.
incident.
What
You
incident
created a
was that?
security incident before
What are
this
you talking
debate
about?
started.
That guy from the Hill Times who
When
had a
you got
meltdown?
into a screaming match with people before this debate
What are you talking
started,
about? I didn't scream
and
at
that's the
anybody.
justification that has been used to cancel the Q&A.
You know what?
After you guys threatened to sue. So
This is the
that's
screaming
why they
match.
got
We're
the
getting
four
screamed at.
questions. Because the commission.
You're making that up. You're lying again.
When did the CBC get 4 questions?
Yesterday.
Yes, after they had already told it to you because you threatened to sue.
We go in there thinking like journalists, and many of the
Yeah,
people in there
I
aren't
just I
journalists.
wanted to note that the first guy, that first clip, he had like a whole plate and a cup.
Yeah.
They were sitting down, obviously enjoying a full-on meal. No
Right.
wonder they're not ready to work. They're like just bunching away, ready
he's
for
in a-
their.
He's in a diabetic coma by the time the debate rolls around. And like he won't get off his big butt to get in line. What do you want me to do? Because we're outworking you? We're supposed to slow down. This is not a union shop. We don't slow down so that all the bad workers look good. We work hard. And yeah, we're friendly with Cian Bexy. If I know Cian, he was probably showing Ezra a funny meme. Like, you know what I mean? And we got in a screaming match. Stu Benson and his lady's voice, because he doesn't have enough testosterone, was screaming at the top of his soprano voice at everybody because there were a bunch of us there. We didn't do any screaming. You can actually hear Ezra saying, like, calm down, brother. There's no
Control
need
your
for
emotions.
control your emotions. There's no need for this. And yet, instead of dealing with these obvious security threats, like these guys should have been thrown out. They violated the code of conduct of that workplace, but instead, they collectively punished all of us, knowing full well when they walked in and canceled the scrum, what was going to happen? They were going to pop off at us like it was our fault. And that's exactly what happened. I remember getting word from someone on the inside that the debate was going to be, the scrum was going to be canceled. And I quickly messaged everybody and I was like, hunker down, get ready, get your cameras ready, because this room is going to explode at us. And that is exactly what happened. And so today, Michel Cormier testifies at the House of Commons about just how difficult it was to do his job. It's a long clip, but towards the end of his opening statement, he says, with regard to the accreditation of journalists, the commission will continue to handle this. Okay. But recommends that it no longer be responsible for organizing the leaders' press conferences that traditionally take place after the debates. So basically, they're saying you can come in the room and watch. Well, I can sit at home and watch without having to sit in a room full of my enemies, but there will be no scrum organized by the debates commission. So they're basically washing their hands of this instead of literally doing their jobs.
What
I
they're
don't know
paid
if
for.
I don't know if we want to show that clip. It's too long. It's 6 minutes, and basically at the end he says exactly like I just said that word for word. But then when he was questioned by the block, he says the post-debate scrum was canceled because he couldn't keep the leaders safe. What? The leaders were fine. It was this racist slurs being shouted at Drea Humphrey from the mainstream media that should have been a problem for this guy, or the fact that a guy in the mainstream media crumpled up a ball of paper and threw it at me in a federally regulated workplace. Anyways, let's listen to this. Oh, do we not have audio? Maybe not.
More about the recommendation that the commission no longer organize press conferences. I'm wondering, is that not directly part of the mandate of the commission?
You think?
Organizing those press conferences. It's the public interest. Press conferences are just as important as what happens at the debate. It goes more in depth. If the commission doesn't organize them, is there not a risk that they would be held at the same time, that smaller media outlets wouldn't be able to send journalists to different places if they're not done in an organized single location? Is that really in the public interest to abdicate your responsibility in organizing press conferences? Well, it's not part of the mandate of the commission. We agreed to organize that to ensure that it was done. The problem is that we're not sure we can guarantee sufficiently calm treatment of party leaders. So that is why we talked about these problems with experts, journalist associations, with political parties, and so we've come to the conclusion that the best way to ensure things don't go badly is that we wouldn't organize those press conferences.
He doesn't even understand the problem.
In that sense, journalists can talk to party leaders every day. Those who follow the leaders.
We can't. But we can't talk to them every day.
So it's that mode that would take precedence after the debate. It doesn't mean there won't be any, but it wouldn't be the commission responsible for them.
He doesn't even understand the issue. The issue is not about keeping the leaders safe. There were cops crawling all over that place, private security all over the place. Nobody was threatening the leaders. People were threatening us in the room. And it was his job to get a handle on that. And instead of saying, like, yeah, we need to do a better job of making sure that independent journalists aren't in danger inside of our building, instead he's like, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. And they can talk to the leaders outside of the debate. Well, we want to ask them about what they said during the debate. And some of us aren't allowed at campaign events.
It's just, in my view, another way where they need to clamp down on the ability to control the narrative. And obviously having independent, free-minded media who's not the lapdogs of the government, paid out by them, that is going to unravel any narrative that the government, the Liberal government, is trying to maintain and have a stranglehold on. And the Debates Commission is obviously just lock and key in on that and cannot dissuade the public by showing questions from independent media. I mean, this is how scared they are of tough questions and unplanned questions, that they have to just cancel it altogether. I think if Canadians were unsure of how controlled and censorious the government and these institutions and entities are, this is just another piece of evidence in the puzzle that they aren't working for you. They're working to control a narrative.
I know it's not on the list, but I just want to get to what Andrew Lawton pointed out. So there are two big clips from Andrew Lawton. I'm not going to show them both. You can see them on my X, and we're going to publish them on YouTube as a compilation. Andrew Lawton at one point asks, and Andrew Lawton is a former journalist. He's sued the Debates Commission along with us to get access to the post-debate scrums. And he asks at one point, Michel Cormier, what exactly, like these are the words, what exactly is it that you do around here? Because we're not in election mode. You make $160,000 to $190,000 a year. He says it's a part-time job. He might do 2 meetings a week. That's it. And so he's like, what do you do? Like, what is it that you do to justify your own existence? And he's like, basically, well, that's an HR issue. Well, I suppose, but you know, like your one job is to handle the debates and you effed that up and we pay you darn good money for that. So could you do something? But Andrew then went into, you tried to censor independent journalists twice by keeping them out. And then when you couldn't do that the last time, you censored them by canceling the debates or the debate scrums. And I mean, his excuses were so laughable that Andrew quite literally started laughing. So let's watch this.
There obviously, just for the sake of the committee, I've as a journalist before I became a member of Parliament, I had to engage with the Leaders Debates Commission. You were very gracious in testifying in the lawsuit on press freedom, Lawton versus Canada, in which True North and subsequently Rebel News as well were granted authorization to accredit. But the instinct of the Leaders Debates Commission in the 2019 election was to draw a line and not permit independent media from attending the debate and attending scrums where there was the opportunity to pose questions to leaders. In the 2021 election, there was a bit of a different approach. Some independent media, myself included, were accredited. Some were not. The Leaders Debates Commission once again went to court and was unsuccessful. And then in 2025, there was a broader accreditation, but in the end, scrums were abruptly canceled, thus denying independent media the opportunity to ask questions of party leaders. So why is it that in every single election, there has been a desire by the Leaders Debates Commission to prevent certain journalists from accessing the proceedings and asking questions of leaders of parties in this country?
Well, if we go back to 2019, the media that we thought did not deserve accreditation were media that we did not believe adhered to professional standards and had demonstrated that they were more advocates than actually journalists. Same thing in 2021. Now we lost the cases in court because the court told us that the commission does not have the authority to decide that. And since there is no legal definition of journalism, the court is not in a position to actually solve that question. So we lost those 2 cases. We took stock of that, and for 2025, we decided to widen the definition of what the media organization is. If you produce content on Canadian affairs, you're in. So that's on that basis that we actually admitted the media.
But anyone can watch the debate on YouTube or on television. The critical difference between being accredited as a journalist by the Leaders Debates Commission and not is access to the scrums. Now, I understand you're moving away from scrums in the future, but that is precisely the point here, where there was an opportunity to say Canadians deserve access to political leaders, and at every single election, the commission has put a barrier where only certain journalists, namely, elite parliamentary press gallery journalists, would meet the criteria of what you constitute as a journalist. And when everyone was allowed in, you canceled the scrums altogether. How is that keeping with transparency?
We accredited 60 different media organizations this time, and a wide variety of new media.
Canceled the scrums.
And
Yes,
then you canceled.
because
Exactly.
we could not guarantee a proper environment for press conferences.
You didn't even try.
I was in that press room before the or during the debates, and there was too much tension, too much argument.
On behalf of
That's the last
Yeah.
thing I would like
Did you
I
do-
wanted
he
to do
didn't
is
even
to
do it.
cancel the scrums. I believe in accountability
even
and
do
access to
anything.
leaders. But it has become too disruptive for the public interest of the commission and of the debates, and I'm truly sad about that. But that's
Whatever.
the case.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with Andrew on that. Like,
Mr. D'Entremont,
it's too disruptive
Thank you very much.
for the mainstream media. That's who it's too disruptive
he
for.
said it was too tense and disruptive. So did you do literally anything to deal with the disruptors? The answer is no. If those guys were in a bar acting like that, they would have been thrown out by a bouncer. Why didn't you get them out of a professional workplace setting so that everybody could work in safety? Didn't do a thing. Literally didn't do a thing. Just said, well, the scrum is canceled. Stu Benson should have been thrown out on his weepy little ass. That big galoot, I forget who he works for, he should have grabbed his muffin and hit the bricks. But they didn't do anything. Nothing. They just said, oh, we're canceling it because we can't ensure safety. Did you do anything to get the disruptors out? Literally nothing. What a loser of a man Michel Cormier is. He never... I wrote, because they asked for consultation on this final hearing or his final report. And man alive, did I light that guy up with a scathing opportunity for input on behalf of the Independent Press Gallery and their failure to do their jobs. And basically he's like, I'm sorry. It makes me sad. Well, sorry, you know what? It makes me angry because that guy makes $190,000 a year to do nothing. All he had to do was say, security, get that guy out of here. And we all would have been able to work. But he didn't do any of that.
Yeah, or, even remind everyone about decorum and that they actually have equal opportunity to get up in front of a microphone instead of having everything handed to them on a silver platter and fed into their mouths with a silver, like they're doing, gluttonously feasting on whatever snacks and treats are provided with their plates and cups, just neatly finished off my lunch or my dinner here at the Debates Commission, and now I'm full after my turkey dinner and can't move and get up to the microphone to ask my questions.
Guy needs some too much on the tryptophan. Like it's just about the turkey chemicals in him. Like it's just like he can't even get up to. This is the part that really irks me. Is if you're gonna yell at somebody, get to your feet. It shows that you're serious. It commands a little bit of authority, but he couldn't even get to his feet on this. Like, get up on your hooves, buddy. But he's just sitting there screaming at people, yelling at people, telling them that you saw Cian Bexty show him something funny on his phone.
How dare you interact and not actually be working with each other? I mean, it's just, these are the people that frame us as conspiracy theorists. But I would say this guy's comments sound pretty conspiracy minded to me. Like thinking that there's some great conspiracy with communication, or I don't even know where this guy
We're all friends. We're all friends.
Yeah, we worked together.
Yeah, like we worked with Cian at the UCP AGM. I was in the Western Standard Hospitality Suite, eating all their snacks and drinking all their booze. The next night
Still
they did
making it up to the microphone.
Yeah, and then the next night they were over in our hospitality suite doing the same thing. And the next day in between, we were at the press conference, lined up together to ask the premier questions. That's what happens when you're fully functioning adults. In a rising tide, I think on the conservative side floats all boats, right? Like there's enough of us out there that there's enough stories for us to cover every single day with unique angles. Why wouldn't we just get along. Yeah, of course, I've got healthy competition with those guys at Blacklocks. Man, I've been writing like crazy this morning. But that healthy competition makes us all better. Like, it's just these, like, imagine Ezra just standing there talking, and these people are just on him like locusts, and then calling Ezra the disruption. If they didn't think that Ezra was interesting, they probably could have just sat down.
Right.
But
They probably could have just withered away, but
right.
instead, here they are. And these are, again, and also conspiracy theories aside, and this guy sounding pretty conspiratorial. These are the people who parrot DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And look at the way that they are behaving when, God forbid, there is a diversity of thought or idea happening behind the scenes and about to be questioned of our political leaders, of the people that the country is supposed to elect to lead them.
Yeah. And
not diversity in any mind. This is censorship and then shutting down the debate for everyone because you're scared of a few critical thinkers.
I think they didn't want us to see how lazy they are. I had a good impression, like I had a good idea of how lazy they are going into this, but I don't think they wanted us to see it because we would tell everybody at home just how lazy they are. But also they
now
didn't
we get
want,
to over and over again.
Over and over again. I show what a bunch of screamy, harpy, oversoyed, under testosterone lunatics these people are, but also that nobody cares about the questions they ask. Whose question lit up that night? I guess I would suspect it's Drea Humphrey, you know, because she asked something none of those losers in that room would have asked. Not a single person would ever have asked that question. And I think that's the point. If you kick us out, then there's no standard by which to compare their bad journalism to. And as long as we were there was a standard to be for them to be compared to.
Yeah. And I think even going back to the 2021 leadership debates, and we had that kind of quasi COVID regulation where some were in person, some were phoning in. And the question that I posed to then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about how we had won both of those court cases against the Debates Commission in 2019 and that election in 2021, how he would justify attempting to prevent our coverage moving forward, given the two very strong precedents of those rulings. And that clip also went viral, both mainstream and alternative news-minded people, both kind of spectrums, capitalized in different ways on that question and that answer. And he had a full-blown meltdown. These are things you wouldn't see if it was just the legacy media party had full access and no one else. And this is why it's so important to have that diversity of media, because otherwise you don't get real tough questions.
Yeah, I called Jagmeet Singh a baby. My question. And some people were kind of mad about that. They're like, oh, Sheila, you wasted your question. But he wasn't going to answer me anyway. And I wanted to show that you have to be, this is my question to Polyev, you have to be the prime minister for everybody and not just the people you agree with or the people who voted for you. And so you have to listen to their questions and concerns. And he just wouldn't. So I just said, yeah, are you trying to be the prime minister for everybody or just a baby with his hands over his ears?
And how absolutely crucial and important for people to see that.
Yeah.
For people to hear your question and see the response in order to make an actual informed decision and choice at the polls. Yep. Without that, without us, without independent media, you don't see any of those things. And so, obviously Canadians aren't being adequately informed and they're not hitting the polls with enough information to appropriately cast their ballot.
Let's hit an ad break and then I'll let you choose what we want to go on next. Maybe State of Canada. I think we've talked about this sort of stuff enough. But anyways, we'll let you choose. Tamara, you could choose because I've done enough thinking already and it's 11:30. We'll hit an ad break and we'll be back on the other side.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate
the buyback of
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Big news! Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube. For just $4.99 a month on YouTube, you'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.
All right. Next, I thought that we could head right into what's happening with the U.S. trade talks. In Canada, you know, we have our fairly newly minted Prime Minister Mark Carney, who was supposed to be this like all-saving grace economist, brilliant banker, all of his Brookfield bro experience, and people, liberals, were really sold on this idea that he was going to, you know, swoop in and save the day. And I always ask them, well, he was the guy who's been whispering in the ear of Justin Trudeau for the last few years. So how is it going to change? And now we realize that it's really not. And things have only continued to deteriorate under his leadership, quote unquote. But we have a crumbling trade talks have essentially crumbled. And that's largely thanks to Carney's ineptitude, but also the meddling of Ontario Premier Doug Ford with his ridiculous $75 million ad campaign that skewed and selectively edited a former President Ronald Reagan's trade talk speech. I think it was from 1987. Anyway, you know, with really threatening language, like Premier Ford's threatened to cut off power to the United States, and he's just being ridiculous, but to be expected from the progressive conservatives here in Ontario. So now we have this clip to share with you that Trump is signaling that he could exit from USMCA, that's the US, Mexico, Canada trade agreement.
This is so bad. This
entirely.
is so bad.
Just like, we're not doing it anymore. It's up for renegotiation anyway, early next year, I believe.
Yeah.
But he could exit entirely from it. Let's listen to this.
An ongoing thing. It expires in about a year, and we'll either let it expire or we'll maybe work out another deal with Mexico and Canada. But look, Mexico and Canada have taken advantage of the United States, like just about every other country.
Trump's framing is off. CUSMA does not expire in a year, but the trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico will be reviewed and likely revised starting next June. In Washington, behind closed doors, high-stakes consultation hearings are now underway. Industry, business leaders, and experts telling the Trump administration what they think about the deal, which is also known here as USMCA.
Yeah, so if he wants to disavow a trade agreement with Canada and Mexico, which I would say At this point, not that I'm for that, but it's very much warranted. He's been threatening and sounding the alarm over the flow of contraband, fentanyl, the human trafficking, the porous borders. Mexico has taken a much stronger stance to curb and get this under control than Canada has. We elected Kevin Boisseau as our fentanyl czar, and
I keep forgetting his name because I never hear anything about him.
Well, all I keep hearing is that they're having conversations, and then I think he came out of the woodwork a few months ago, and maybe not even a few months, 6 weeks or so ago, at a talk in Toronto where he said that, oh yeah, it's a lot worse than I could have thought. Like, yeah, we've been saying this for the better part of 2 years now, at least. And so Canada's really not done much to quell these concerns, and they only continue to become heightened and exacerbated. I mean, even today we have another piece, I believe it was from the Globe and Mail. I'm just going to try to pull it up, where our immigration minister, who's the 7th one in as many years, by the way, which is so unfortunate for such a massive portfolio of this magnitude. But Lena Diab just warns foreign nationals not to abuse our asylum system.
Oh, okay.
As the US and the UK tighten their rules. And it's like, yeah, those foreign nationals, 700, I think, of them, which are foreign criminals who have come into this country that we've just lost track of. Where do you think that they perhaps end up? Because our border with the United States is one of the longest land borders in the world and completely unmaintained in many various places. Alexa Lavoie has done amazing reporting at the border itself, showing just how vast it is, how rural it is, and how easy it is to have it be a fluid back and forth thing. So when Canada's not taking any reasonable steps or tangible action to curb this, despite all this flowery language and these smoke and mirror appointments of a fentanyl czar, of course, trade talks are going to continue to deteriorate when you have Premier Doug Ford aggressively heightening tensions and doing things to just provoke and poke the bear. I'm not surprised that Donald Trump is saying, you know what, we might just leave the trade deal altogether. Forget it.
There are 857 non-Canadians in federal prisons, and a lot of them are being released from provincial institutions, and then the CBSA is rearresting them immediately. And we're not doing anything about this. I think I wrote up so much stuff this morning. I think 10,000 deportation orders where they're just like, we're giving up. And they routinely give up on these after they go over like a year or 2 years. They just say, well, what do you want us to do about it? I don't know. Grab them, get them out of here.
Uphold your mandate.
I think, I forget what news clip that we had taken that from, but whoever it was that fact checked the president when he said in about a year, this comes up for renewal or a review. It's July 1st, 2026, but they're not going to leave it down to the wire. They're going to start probably talking about it right away. And it feels like it's actually a little bit too late to even begin talking about it. That July 1st, 2026, that's 6 months away.
Mm-hmm.
That's
there
scary.
should be a new deal almost solidified ahead of the expiration of the old deal, because that's how things smoothly transition and should flow seamlessly and easily.
Yeah,
but we can't, how dare we expect that out of the Canadian government these days? And then we also have this headline from, my computer's starting to
Bloomberg.
Here. Yes.
Bloomberg, Europe says Canada must pay 10 million euros to join the EU defense deal. The European Union says Canada will need to pay 10 million euros, the equivalent of $16 million Canadian, to join their cute little club. It's to join a defense procurement agreement with the continent. I have no idea why we're doing this. Why?
Yeah, and well, Carney's aligned us. He said he identifies as European first and foremost, and then he said that he's been out there trying to align us more with the European Union rather than our largest previous trade partner and land mass ally, the United States, because Donald Trump's been sounding the alarm on all of the things that are wrong in Canada right now because the Liberals won't listen to actual Canadians and independent media who have been reporting on these issues for the better part of, several years, but especially the last few. And so as a result, Carney's trying to align us more with Europe and the European Union.
This is crazy.
And I'm just trying to look up, though, how much was it going to cost Canada to be part of the United States, essentially their Iron Dome? Remember?
I think it was a couple billion. But anyways, this first is just an installment payment. This is like a, hey, you get to join our club payment that we're making. So it's the $245 billion Security Action for Europe program, or SAFE. It's part of the Rearm Europe initiative, of course, to make the continent less reliant on American defense technology and funding. When he was asked when Defense Minister David McGuinty, when he was asked how much Canada would need to pay, he told reporters on Parliament Hill, "We'll have more to say about that in due course. Canada will have to start to pay a one-off contribution of 10 million to the EU budget, and then it'll be reassessed going forward." So this is like committing us to continuing to pay for this just because we've decided to be anti-American.
Right.
Great.
And maybe there's hope to smooth the waters because Carney is set to meet Trump tomorrow in Washington. According to the Prime Minister's office, they're going to have a brief meeting on Friday.
I'm already embarrassed.
Yeah, we'll see. And also that will include Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who, obviously we're all an integral part of the USMCA. And so maybe after this announcement that Trump may just exit it entirely, they're trying to do some damage control now. But they'll be, it's so laughable. It's breads and circuses because they'll be at the FIFA Cup draw on Friday. And so it's, I guess, a convenient opportunity
for European of us.
Yeah.
How very, very European.
To convene. And so we'll see, because I think, so this is the first time that Carney and Trump have spoken since Doug Ford lit a match and dumpster fired the trade talks with his ridiculous propaganda ad that was funded entirely by Ontario taxpayers to the tune of $75 million.
Do you know what's funny? I was thinking the other day, Donald Trump probably would have loved Rob Ford. And that's what makes me sad when I think about it. I think he probably really would have enjoyed Rob.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Bring back Rob Ford. Rest in peace. All right.
Let's talk about Stellantis.
Yes.
Oh, okay. First, let's talk about Algoma Steel. So they get a $400 million loan as part of the, we're fighting with the Americans. Americans aren't buying our steel, so we got to keep these steel companies afloat. In the meantime, the canola industry is larger than the steel industry, but nobody seems to care about those tariffs from China because it's all about protecting green cars. But anyway, Algoma Steel CEO testifies, or at least tells people, that the feds knew about plans for the layoffs before handing over the $400 million loan. So when they give them these loans and then they say, oh, look at us, we're protecting Canadian jobs. They gave it to a company who told them they were going to lay off Canadians.
This is absolutely insane. $500 million. Well, the Canadian, it's not like we have money to just make it rain, or, the concept of money grows on trees here. Canada is teetering, and we have record numbers at the food bank. I know we kind of talk a lot about the state of Canada, and so we're going to coast by it a little bit. But this article from CTV News says the average Canadian family is expected to spend 2 to 3 times more on food than they did this past year, which is already 2 to 3 times higher than they have, in pre-pandemic times. The cost of food just continues to inflate and become exponentially higher than the years prior. And then you have the government sending $500 million in loan assistance to a company that knew they were going to lay off Canadian workers and jet set off into the land of the free in the United States, where they don't have the same ridiculous economy that we're left struggling with here. I mean, every day I talk about government ineptitude, but how are we? This is so bad that you can't ignore this anymore. This is reaching a precipice now.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's the whole Stellantis thing. So Stellantis at this point, it's what they call Dodge now. They're just rubbing it in our faces at this point, I think. So we've got this video and good on the White House. I mean, the people we chase away, or the people that are, taking advantage of Canadians, if they can poach them, I guess America first. I can't begrudge them that. But Stellantis CEO Antonio Filosa was in the White House, and he says it's a great day where we see CAFE regulations reconcile with real customers' demands. That's why at Stellantis, we've decided to invest $13 billion in the next 4 years because we believe in what you, Secretary Duffy, and what your team is doing. So this is Stellantis saying that they are eagerly investing $13 billion into the United States. Watch.
I think we can play this clip.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great day for us at Stellantis today, because it's the day where we see CAFE regulation reconcile with real customers' demand. That's why at Stellantis we decided to invest to Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler $13 billion in the next 4 years, increasing production by 50%, delivering to the market 5 new vehicles, and creating 5,000 additional jobs. That's because we believe in what you, Secretary Duffy, and all your team is doing in this country. We believe in growth, and we are ready to invest even more. So thank you very much. Thank you very much also for this great news of the K cars, which we are very interested in. And we are very looking forward to work with Secretary Duffy, your team, in the future for the next steps. Thank you very much.
We'll get ready for those cars because we've already cleared the way. You can start right away.
We will. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
You know what makes this? My blood is just boiling, because that money actually is basically a wash. That money came from Canadian taxpayers. We gave
$15 billion. They actually made $2 billion off the top. I've got the clip here from Andrew Scheer, although maybe with the conversion rate, it did come out as a wash. But I've got a clip of Andrew Scheer in the House of Commons we can show. But yeah, we gave them $15 billion with no guarantees that a single one of them would create Canadian jobs. I think they gave them another $220 million for the Brampton plant to make the Jeep Compass. And what did Stellantis turn around and do? With no guarantees, we just gave them free money. They took that manufacturing of that specific vehicle and moved it into the United States.
And then just gave them $15 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have that? Do you want to show that clip of Andrew Scheer in the House of Commons? Here it is. No audio.
This news out of GM today is another devastating blow for auto workers. It comes less than a week after Stellantis announced 3,000 layoffs as they move production from Canada into the U.S. The Prime Minister looked Canadians in the eye and promised that in exchange for their votes, he would prevent auto sector jobs from happening. Well, they're happening. If the government included a Canadian-wide job protection plan in their $15 billion deal to Stellantis, they can simply invoke that clause. The minister who signed the contract should be able to answer this question. Did they include a jobs protection clause in the contract to Stellantis?
Mr. Speaker, I know that the Conservatives have been wanting to see the contracts that are linked to the Stellantis plant. And you know what? We've said yes. So the opposition on the committee will have access to the contracts, and they will discover that indeed we negotiated well, and indeed Stellantis is on the hook, Mr. Speaker.
Nope.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, it's been a week, and all we've got from this minister is political theatre. She's bragging about who she gets on the phone. She's bragging about the tough talks she's having. Here's the thing. If they actually included a jobs protection clause in the contract, all they have to do is invoke it. I'm starting to get a terrible feeling. I'm starting to worry that they signed a $15 billion deal with Stellantis and didn't include a guarantee to protect those Canadian jobs. Can the minister tell Canadians very clearly, explicitly, did they include a jobs protection plan for all jobs at Stellantis when they forked over $15 billion?
To spook Canadians, but I just would like to remind him that the support that was given to the company was linked to the production of batteries, and therefore no money is spent.
Yeah, start from the top, please.
I know my colleague's trying to spook Canadians right now, but I think what is really, really important to remember is that any support from the government was linked to the production of batteries. And in that sense, our support is linked from the moment that the production is happening. The production has not necessarily happened yet. That being said, Mr. Speaker, what we will do is to make sure that we hold Stellantis to account, because obviously jobs are important in the at the Brampton facility, and we'll continue to fight for these jobs.
Yeah, I bet. The thing
I found the clip. I found the clip where she was forced to admit at committee that she's lying to the House right there. By the way, she's lying, but because of parliamentary privilege, you get to lie in the House. You can say things inside of the House of Commons that you can't say outside, which is why committee work is so important, because they can't lie at committee, which is why I very rarely watch the House of Commons except for entertainment purposes. The real stuff happens at committee. She lied in the House, and then she went over to committee and they pressed her on it, and where she said we negotiated jobs, they didn't. She didn't even read the contracts before they dished out $15 billion of your money. Watch this.
Have to respond. So on the commercially sensitive redactions, now on the CIF agreement for Nexstar, the jobs guarantee of $2,500 was not redacted. So it stands to reason that it wouldn't be redacted, wouldn't be commercially sensitive under a different CIF agreement. Surely you can tell us if there was a 3,000 person jobs guarantee for Brampton, and that's not commercially sensitive information. So it is concerning to me that you're not committing that there was a jobs guarantee for the Brampton facility.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So you're saying that there is...
I'm saying that all the plants were linked and all the contracts are linked. So you will be able to see it when we will be producing.
But if there wasn't a jobs guarantee of 3,000 people at Brampton, which is the whole reason you're here, then how is it that you're tying all of the money to a jobs guarantee that may or may not exist? You should be able to tell us if there is a jobs guarantee for the 3,000 jobs in Brampton.
I think you're falling into the trap of trying to find a problem where there's none.
Well, the problem is that 3,000 people were laid off,
the government
and your government committed millions and billions, in fact, of dollars.
Well, MP Dancho, I don't know whether you want this to be a monologue or you want me to appear. Because
the question
if you
I'm
want
asking
this
you
to
is
be a
very
monologue,
clear.
I don't need to be here.
Colleagues, I'm going to pause us again for a moment.
Okay, so what Raquel Dancho is astutely pointing out there is they got all the contracts, although there's some in the Stellantis contract that is redacted. But one of the other contracts for Nexstar shows that there is a jobs guarantee attached to the funding. But the Stellantis one doesn't show that. And she's like, well, Jolie was arguing, well, maybe it's one of the redactions. So Dancho is like, well, if you didn't redact it in that one, surely you wouldn't have redacted it in this one. So obviously it's not commercially sensitive if you left it in the one. So that stands to reason that there is no jobs guarantee, and Jolie couldn't say that there was.
And I'm pretty sure that that's the same committee also that Stellantis was a no-show.
Yeah, they didn't even come. Why would they?
They cited technical difficulties, and this is the same company that's trying to sell cutting-edge technology.
They didn't have a problem showing up in the White House, did they?
No, their IT, they hid behind IT problems. And Melanie Jolie says that it was that the company redacted or requested redacted contracts to be submitted to all of the MPs.
She could have said no.
Just 2 days ago, the National Post said that Stellantis contradicts that claim. that it was actually the government that asked to redact all of those contracts. So, yeah, I guess she doesn't really need to be there. She doesn't need to be in the House of Commons. She doesn't need to be in committee because she's not going to tell the truth anyway. So,
yeah,
what's the point of paying this person?
I mean, we're about to get our asses handed to us over the trade deal with the Americans. It's only going to get worse. We're seeing that, like, they're literally giving these companies money, and the companies are like, yoink, thanks, we're off to Michigan.
Right.
And, like, this is...
Here you are, Donald Trump.
What is happening here? Ned Carrick, he's a Hamilton MP. He brought this up in the House of Commons yesterday afternoon, I believe. We got a quick 1-minute clip. Like, I can't believe Jolie still has a job.
Yeah.
You know, we just had a swearing in the other day of Mark Miller. Somebody should be shuffling this nitwit out of her portfolio. Like, how many billions do you have to lose before you lose your job? I guess it's a lot if you're a Liberal. Let's watch this.
Found out that the Liberals knew Algoma was planning to lay off 1,000 steel workers before giving the company $400 million. I guess the Prime Minister was speaking the truth. He really doesn't care about protecting Canadian jobs. You know who does care? Conservatives care. And so do the thousands of Hamilton steel and manufacturing workers who go to bed every night wondering if they're going to have a job in the morning. Why is it with these Liberals there's always a guarantee for corporate welfare, but zero guarantees for the Canadian worker?
L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
When my colleague is talking about corporate welfare, what I'm saying to him is actually that workers are worth every dime, and particularly Algoma ones in light of the American unjustified tariffs. And that is exactly why we decided, along with the Conservatives in Ontario, actually with Doug Ford's government, to support the company as it was facing existential threat. The company was not going well. We knew we needed to help. We decided to make the investments, and meanwhile, we know that the future can be brighter because we're working on two things: a steel plant, a beam mill, and a plate mill for defense and infrastructure.
She's an absolute numbskull, and I know I give Chrystia Freeland a hard time for her clothing choices in the House of Commons because she always wears the same dress, just in a different color. But I've noticed that Jolie does the same thing. She wears that I'm going on safari outfit, just in different colors, because she wore it in red when she appeared at committee, and now she's wearing it in green, and I think I've seen it in black before.
At least she isn't picking her toenails, so I guess there's that. Give her.
I saw Freeland put her hair in a scrunchie at a meeting on stage. And sit on her feet, by the way, like put her feet underneath her bum on stage with the British foreign minister. I wanted to die. Like, I just was having a full-bodied cringe. She just like put her hair in like a high mum scrunchie that we all unfortunately put our hair in sometimes, but I wouldn't do it on the stage at like a high-level meeting.
Representing the entire country.
I wanted to die. It was just so bad. These ladies. Anyway.
All right. Well, we get to our daily dose of cringe because I see we're running up against the clock. I just want to give a shout out to Heather Gaudette,
yes,
who became a Rebel News Plus subscriber and bought a new membership today. Thank you, and hello and welcome to Heather. And then we have a super chat here from Brenda MK4GC. Absolutely adore all of you rebels. Keep up the great work spreading truth and integrity like a wildfire. Merry early Christmas. Thanks, Brenda, and Merry Christmas to you and to all of our rebel fans. 'Tis the season, isn't it? Yeah. And then JP Alberta First gives $5. Thank you. Stellantis got 15 billion Canadian, and they're investing 13 billion USD. Actually, more with the
that's true. That is. They're at least putting a little bit of their own money in, I guess. Which I guess we should all be kind of happy that it wasn't all entirely our money, but yeah, Canadian pesos
chunk. And
Canadian pesos don't go as far as they used to.
Oh, rest in peace, the Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
All right, we have a daily dose of cringe somewhere in
this whole thing has been a lot of cringe. Like between those men who are in the press room, Stu Benson and the other dude, the Muffin Man, and then
it's
Jolie.
the brand new 2-minute land acknowledgement.
Okay, let's watch.
Compliments of Toronto City Hall, of course.
Let's watch.
Yes, sorry in advance.
We'll now turn it over to our Vice Chair, Lucina, to share the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Morley. I wish to honor the innumerable ways African ancestral languages, spiritualities, knowledge systems, and kinship ties survive in the lives of Black people here in Toronto and around the world. I further situate our work in a global context. Decolonizing movements and struggles for racial, economic, and cultural justice are active across continents, from community-line reparations and cultural resurgence to transnational solidarity with migrants, refugees, and peoples resisting extractive and imperial violences. These movements remind us that confronting anti-Black racism must be a practice that listens to global and local histories of resistance and that centers reparative, community-led change. I offer this acknowledgement to root our work in transformational policy and wide relations so that dignity, safety, and belonging in our city is not conditional. Although we are in different locations, the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Advisory Committee acknowledges the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We honor the treaties and responsibilities that endure here, and we name that these lands were taken and held through processes of colonization that continue to shape daily life. I will turn it back over to Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you so much, Lucina. The City of Toronto acknowledges all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to our ancestors of African origin and descent.
I didn't even realize that Toronto had an anti-Black racism committee.
As soon as I saw that, my soul left my body, and it was just hovering above me. Yeah.
The city is in complete disarray, and this is the kind of priorities that City Council has. This is craziness.
We didn't have slavery here. People fled slavery to here. Actually, I'm not being accurate. There was slavery here. Indigenous tribes would capture slaves from each other, which the Catholic Church very much frowned upon when they were doing their missionary work here. And in fact, the peace between the warring tribes here in Alberta was brokered by a Catholic missionary here. Wetaskiwin. It means the hills where peace was made.
It's just craziness.
These people.
Canada had the Underground Railroad.
Right. People fled slavery to here.
Yes. They fled through the Underground Railroad from the southeastern states into Canada for freedom. Do we ever talk about, I learned about the Underground Railroad in school. Are the schools just not teaching that anymore because it doesn't fit the agenda? I'm on the Toronto City page, Confronting Anti-Black Racism, and it's just as ridiculous as you would think. And they have a whole 5-year action plan. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into this rabbit hole because I'm sure there's a lot here, but just no wonder the city of Toronto is in complete disarray.
Exactly. We don't do this sort of stuff here. We don't pretend that we had slavery here, at least in Alberta. In fact, we celebrate John Ware. He was a Black cowboy. And right now there's archaeological research being done into his ranch. So this was a place of, like, I'm sure, different people in different times, but mostly if you were able to just work hard, we kind of didn't actually care where you came from. And I wish other places of this country were more like that. But Toronto wants to do this segregationist thing. It feels like we're going backwards, right?
Right. Yeah, it feels like we're actually highlighting and promoting racism rather than the opposite. But I think that's kind of beating a dead horse.
It's just so exhausting. It's got to be exhausting to live your life like that. Like to
just a perpetual state of oppression and victimhood.
No thanks.
No thanks.
No thanks. Do they do actually any work down there at the Anti-Black Racism Committee, or does it just like they just proclaim their victimhood all over the place?
Yeah, and acknowledge various, like I mean, even refugee and asylum. I mean, this is a demographic that is scamming and scheming. Not all of them, granted, but has been exploited exponentially in recent years, and the government is quite, I mean, taking action, or at least virtue signaling that they're starting to maybe recognize and acknowledge that there's an issue here, and you have these people including that now in their land acknowledgement, victimhood, virtue signal. That's just so much more than I've ever witnessed before. There was a tidbit of it that was actually at the Toronto, at the Cenotaph during Remembrance Day, they did say part of that one acknowledgement of the slavery part and refugees and immigrants. And that was the first time I'd ever heard anything like that coinciding with a land acknowledgement. And we see the way that land acknowledgements are playing out now. They're actually coming for the land.
It just makes my psychological battery go like right down to the bottom, because it's so nonsensical. Like the one thing that they said there was people who came here against their will. Okay, let's help you go back. Can I help you go back? That's a problem we can solve real fast. If you don't want to be here, happy to help. I'm happy to help. Anyway.
What about all those that did come here through the Underground Railroad and were freed and lived a great life? I mean, what, do they not bring anything to the table here?
No, I guess not.
Let's forget about that, because we are all oppressed and we need to be victims, and give us more money. We just need more of the money, Sheila.
That's what this is about.
Yeah.
The oppression industry is just about
give us
money, my money to them. That's all what it's all about. I think that's the end of the show. I'll let you wrap it up.
On that note, thanks everyone for joining us and for supporting our work and our show. Thanks to everybody on the back end of things who make sure that you can find the links, find us. All the written pieces are there. Efron and Olivia, who make sure that the sources that we reference and the B-roll and the videos are all ready to go and queued up. That is not an easy task sometimes when we go off topic, which happens often. Thanks, Sheila, for being the regular Rebel Roundup correspondent. And we'll see you back here, same time and place, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Until then, stay sane and question everything.